Good evening everyone and welcome to Gundam News. And I want to start with a quick bit of personal news. I might be making an appearance on Japan's Monday Late Show. I was interviewed for it at Comiket, and of course I did find a way to bring Gundam into it. Now the question is just if my interview was funny / interesting enough to make it on the air. Also, I will say that I probably looked quite horrible during the interview because to get into Comiket, I was in line for like over 2 hours and it was like over 30 degrees Celsius while I was waiting outside, which is over 86 Fahrenheit. And with that out of the way, let's have a look at our main Gundam headline. The first 4 minutes of Gundam Requiem for Vengeance have become available on YouTube, and if you haven't seen them yet, I will have them linked down below. And this then basically tells us what to expect from the rest of the series. Let's start with the good stuff. Like the trailers have already shown us before, the series does do a great job at setting the tone with its music and animation. This is a very serious, bleak, and gritty series. It's about a devastating war that has been going on for quite a while, and you can really tell from the scenery. And then when the action kicks in, it also looks really good, as long as it's just the combat vehicles and the mobile suits. Like, those 4 minutes just flew by. It was really fun to watch. But, as I already alluded to, that's not to say that there aren't any bad things either. While the animation on the mobile suits might have looked good, the animation of the characters went from passable to just being straight up dead. So, it seems like that character animation that they showed off in the trailers was actually the best they had, and it's not like it was that great to begin with. So I really hope that this series will be mostly focusing on combat scenes without too much human interaction, because again, that is where it shines. Honestly, the crow in the beginning had better facial animations than most of the human characters in the show. As for the writing and acting then, it felt a bit cliche and cheesy, but in like an endearing way. I hated how some of the lines sounded in the trailer, but now that I saw how they were presented in the actual show, again, I quite like them. Like for example, the Major requesting the Zaku's. It might not be particularly great, but it does go well with his character and what he's supposed to represent. And that kind of goes for the rest of the acting as well. Nothing stood out as particularly great, but I didn't hear anything that really like bothered me or like took me out of the moment either. So with those banger action scenes, it all combines into something that is very fun to watch, even if it does sometimes fall into cliche territory.
So, I told her it was only one more mission. Then I'd be back home in space.
A few moments later.
I'm not expecting a super deep story, but I am expecting a visually impressive series that is just plain fun to watch. Oh, and I'm also expecting interesting little details because this guy is using an old Nokia phone all the way into the Universal Century. Those things just keep on going, man. And I guess it also makes for a very good club as well once you get into close combat. And alongside it, we also got the setting material for 7 more characters and 7 more mobile suits. First up, we have Neeland LaShawn. He was promoted to lieutenant before coming to Earth, thanks to his performance in space. He can be sarcastic and short-tempered, but he is also a loyal and skilled pilot, with his machine being a Zaku 2 F-type that hasn't been customized as extensively as those used by the rest of the Red Wolves. And this is because he's the newest member of the bunch. The left shoulder armor has been painted red, but that is about it. And his call sign is Red Wolf Charlie. Next up, we have Reed Chubbs Gelfie, also a lieutenant and the life of the party in the squad. He never loses his sense of humor, no matter how dire the situation is, and he's been serving under Solari for a long time. He's an ace pilot with excellent skills, and his Zaku has been customized slightly more than that of Neeland. The head has also been painted red, and he has extra spikes on that left shoulder armor for intimidation purposes. And his call sign is Red Wolf Bravo. And our final pilot that is introduced to us then is Lieutenant Kale Zavaleta. He is a cool-headed sniper who is also absolutely merciless towards his enemies. However, he's also got somewhat of a contradictory side to him. While he wants Zeon to be independent, he also insists that he is a soldier for the money and not for Zeon independence. So I guess he's a bit of a tsundere for Zeon. Wanting to become a mobile suit pilot then is Ander Heaton, but for the time being, he's stuck driving a Magella attack, and he joined Solari and the gang after being separated from his original unit by a Federation attack, which I'm assuming is the one that we see in the first 4 minutes of this series. Next up, we have Oni Kasuga, a doctor from the UMRC, which I'm guessing is the UC variant of the Red Cross, because they provide medical care for everyone, no matter which side they belong to. And Oni joined them because he is a pacifist and because he wants to save as many people as possible. But he somehow gets caught up in the attack and then ends up with Solari and friends. Which is also how Haley Arhan ends up with them. She's a skilled infantry soldier whose unit got wiped out in the Federation attack and therefore joined Solari and the gang. She's also very much into punk, in case you hadn't noticed already, and she has been reprimanded for this a lot of times by her superiors. And finally for the humans, we have Alfie Gearhead Zydos, a mechanic who excels at mobile suit maintenance, and he works in a recycling center behind the lines. He's an old friend of Solari's, and he's a calm and experienced veteran. For the remaining mobile suits then, we have the Goof Custom with a giant Gatling gun that feels a little underpowered compared to the one in the 08th MS team. The Zaku Tank, which is of course a non-official unit that has been created with whatever is available at the time, so there are many variants. The Jim with a beam spray gun that also feels quite puny, but I feel that here it's even worse than with the Goof Customs giant Gatling gun, because it's not like the beam spray gun was all that big to begin with. And finally, we have the Ground Assault Type Gun Tank Type B, a simplified version of the standard Ground Assault Type Gun Tank. Those Igloo vibes are only getting stronger. For the Gunpla news then, we go to the Inazuma Rockfest 2024, which will be held on the 21st and the 22nd in Kusatsu. There's a paid area where the music will be happening, but there's also a free area where the shops are. And one of those shops is the Bandai Spirits Hobby Shop, which will be selling the high-grade Rising Freedom Gundam Recirculation Color / Neon Yellow. At 2,970 yen, 21 US, it is slightly more expensive than the standard version, but it does now come in a cool black and neon yellow color scheme, and it also has an extra marking sticker sheet. What did catch my attention though is that the yellow of the model kit is somewhat different from the yellow that we see on the box art. So the yellow of the actual model kit is the neon yellow you would expect from the title. It's like the slight greenish yellow tint. But on the box, it's much more of a standard yellow, which in my opinion does look cooler. So I can imagine that some of the people buying this thing based on the box art will be disappointed when they open it up. But as a bonus for purchasing something at the festival, you'll also get this Inazuma Rockfest 2024 limited edition marking sticker sheet. Also, they did confirm that later on, it will be available from the Gundam base, other events, and even overseas. More impressive then was the figure news, with pre-orders having gone up for the premium Bandai Limited Metal Robot Spirits KA Signature New Gundam Mass Production Type Fin Funnel Equip Type. And it sure is one hell of a machine. It comes with a shield, a beam rifle, beam spray gun, 3 beam sabers with beam saber blade effect parts, an action base, and 6 fin funnels with a whole lot of options. You can attach them the way you're supposed to, being the 6 fin funnels on the left and the big beam saber on the right. But if you prefer symmetry, there's also a piece that would allow you to replace that beam saber with another fin funnel holder. So you can put 3 on the left and 3 on the right. Or more if you decide to buy more of this thing. And also included are clear arms to put them on, so you can also display them in mid-flight if you want to. Or if you really want to go all out, there's also parts included to mount the fin funnels onto the new Gundam Mass Production Type Income Equip Type. And this configuration is then very reminiscent of the Hi-Nu Gundam. So it kind of becomes like a mass production version of the Hi-Nu. The only problem is, of course, that this is going to be very expensive because this set alone will cost you 26,400 yen, which is 186 US in theory, but in practice it's going to be more like 300 US once everything is said and done. And you're spending that money then for just the fin funnels and the connector pieces. But still, this is a very impressive set of a very cool unit. So personally, I'm just hoping that we're gonna get a model kit of this thing sometime. Preferably not Premium Bandai Limited, but that's probably not gonna happen. Meanwhile, on the gaming front then, in Gundam Battle Operation 2 for the PlayStation, today's update has been delayed for an indefinite amount of time due to issues, so hopefully by the time that this video is up, the update will be up as well. While on Steam, you can suit up with the Easy 8 HMC. Fortunately, without any issues. In UC Engage then, the UR-EO Fleming and Rigdom Thunderbolt version have become available as event unit assemblies, as well as a new combat power augmentation operation. On the PlayStation Store, Gundam games as well as other Bamco games are on sale, and for Gundam Arsenal base, the Special Collection set has gone up for pre-order on Premium Bandai. You can choose between the new Gundam and the Sazabi, and each set will come with a themed leather deck box, an acrylic plate, and 6 cards. There's 4 regular cards, which are the same for both sets, being the new Gundam Sazabi, Hi-Nu Gundam, and Nightingale, and then 2 parallel cards based on the mobile suit of the set. So for the new Gundam set, it is the new Gundam and Hi-Nu Gundam, whereas for the Sazabi set, it is the Sazabi and the Nightingale. Each goes for 5,720 yen, 40 US, and is slated for a December release. And in other news, the Japanese version of the Gundam Metaverse anime will no longer be available for free on YouTube, so the same might be happening to the English subtitled version.
Oh no! Anyway.
And the special edition of Gundam Seed Freedom will be screened at the Movix Tsukuba Film Festival on October the 5th and will include concert-grade audio equipment. As for the things you could get this week then, just today we got both the SD Gundam Cross Silhouette Mighty Strike Freedom Gundam, going for 1,980 yen, 14 US, and the high-grade Lightning Buster Gundam going for 2,860 yen, 20 US. The Little Freedom comes with the opening forehead cannon, 2 connectable beam sabers with beam saber blade effect parts, 2 connectable beam rifles, the ability to display the Proud Defender separately, and of course, the main feature of the Cross Silhouette line, the ability to build it with either the standard SD frame, which is a bit more stocky, or with the more lean Cross Silhouette frame. The Lightning Buster, meanwhile, comes with the seat action system to guarantee a maximum amount of articulation with that large amount of firepower that it's packing. And if the included firepower just isn't enough, they also confirm that it is compatible with the separately sold Meteor unit. For this week's reading material then, there was the Big Comic Superior, in which Gundam Thunderbolt is being serialized, and this time around it also has a cover which shows you how not to handle a gun. We had the newest Gundam weapons, this time featuring Gunpla from Kukuruzawan's Island, with kits like the Wan Zaku, the High Mobility Surface Type Zaku, a scratch-built core booster, and of course, the Gundam itself. And finally, there was the English ebook version of the 20th edition of Hobby Japan Mechanics, this time featuring mobile suits from Double Zeta Gundam. And it is available on Amazon US, UK, Canada, France, Italy, Spain, and the Netherlands. On to the apparel news then, where Strict G kicked things off with a collaboration with Universal Overall for their 100th anniversary. Styled after the Falmel, or here spelled as Farmal, we have a coverall for 18,150 yen, 128 US, a t-shirt with breast pocket for 6,380 yen, 45 US, and a day pack for 12,100 yen, 85 US. Or for also 12,100 yen, 85 US, you can get a t-shirt with the main cast or the last shooting. For 15,400 yen, 108 US, there's a worker's shirt in either pink or gray, both featuring the Gundam about to slice a Zaku in half, all in a day's work. And for 6,050 yen, 43 US, there's a Xeon-themed cap. All of these items are available from physical Strict G stores starting the 14th, except for the day pack, which will be available from the 21st. Which is also when this Strict G and Fruit of the Loom G Gundam collaboration will be available. For 9,680 yen, 68 US, you can get a black or gray King of Hearts sweatshirt or a white or black Undefeated of the East sweatshirt. And then from October the 26th, you can get these 8 Gundam Seed Freedom acrylic keychains. They go for 1,650 yen a pop, 12 US, and the available Gundams are the Rising Freedom Gundam, Mighty Strike Freedom Gundam, Dual Blitz Gundam, Lightning Buster Gundam, Strike Freedom Gundam Type 2, Infinite Justice Gundam Type 2, Destiny Gundam Spec 2, and Immortal Justice Gundam. From Bankode, meanwhile, pre-orders went live for these Gundam Seed Freedom Kara Code Straps. They go for 3,960 yen each, 28 US, are available in Kira and Atherin colors, and the intended use case is so that you can hang your phone from your neck. Also, if you look closely, there's a small Tori keychain included as well. And as always, let's quickly wrap things up with the polls. A few weeks ago, Gundam.info wanted to know what the most impressive Gundam scene was featuring the moon. And this has to be one of the closest victories we've ever seen, because the Super Microwave launching scene from Gundam X won with 32.9%, and the introduction of the Dead Scythe Hell in Gundam Wing Endless Waltz got 31.5%, so a less than 2% difference. But just like I said back then, I think that microwave launching scene is by far the best scene, because it doesn't just have the moon as a backdrop, it actually has the moon as almost like a main character. It is a major plot point. And not just in that one scene, but for pretty much the entirety of the series. Because the moon is a vital element in activating the main weapon of the Gundam X and the Gundam DX. And for the people who think that might sound a bit like super robot-esque for a Gundam series, there is a good reason why the moon has to be out for that main weapon to be activated. When the weapon was first made, there were a bunch of relay satellites around the moon and in space, so that the beam from the moon station, where the super microwave thing is located, could be redirected to anywhere where the Gundam X was. But then during the war that happened before the Gundam X anime, those relay satellites got destroyed, meaning that the beam can now only be fired in a direct line. And the final two options of the poll were the last scene from Gundam F91 with 19.8% and Loran howling at the moon with 15.7%. And in the case of Loran, I would argue that it deserved some more votes because here as well, the moon feels more like just a decoration. It's more actively involved in the story here. As for the currently ongoing poll, I've also got some opinions to give here because Gundam.info wants to know who the most popular glasses-wearing Gundam Seed character is. And they are really limiting themselves by only picking Gundam Seed characters, because we're only getting like secondary characters at best. We have Sai Argyle, Dalida Lolaha Chandra II, Juriwoo Nien, and Herbert von Reinhardt. And it also seems like the Astray Girls are less popular than I thought, because in both the Gundam.info version of the poll and on Twitter, Sai is leading by a large margin, with the other three just kind of like duking it out for second place. But now let's be real here for a second. When I ask you to think about a Gundam character wearing glasses, is Sai really going to be the first one you think about? Like, really? When we're just talking about prescription glasses, we've got characters like Caddy Mannequin, Lady Un, Natasha, Tiaria, or even like Baker. And then when we include sunglasses, we have even heavier hitters, probably people you were thinking about, like Quattro, Jamil, Harry Ord, Meijin Kawaguchi, and the list just goes on, both for sunglasses and for prescription glasses. So let me know down below who your favorite glasses-wearing Gundam character is. For me, for regular glasses, I'm going to go with Caddy, with an honorable mention for Juri, and for sunglasses, I quite like Keith from Gundam 0083. And if you want to vote in the Gundam.info poll, I'll of course have those linked down below. And that has been all for this week's Gundam news. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope everyone watching has a great evening, and I'll see you all next week with more Gundam news.